Welcome back, my blade fans. This old sword. And I have here to share with you today a beautiful example of the TwoSun's workmanship. As we know, probably one of the best, if not the best, budget line there is as far as cost versus value. And this design is by the phenomenal Mazwan Mokhtar. I hope he doesn't get embarrassed by me saying that. I've got a number of his designs. I have enough now to where maybe one day what I'll do is the Mazwan Mokhtar collection that I have of TwoSun knives. And you'll get to see why I feel he does such great work. So this is the TS301, and it is nicknamed the Lockdown. Exactly why? I don't know, but we may have a hint or two as we look the knife over. And let's do just that before we get down to the boring, hard specs. For a satin finish blade, this is one of the more reflective knives that I've shot recently. We have linen micarta, as it's described by TwoSun, carbon fiber bolster, beautiful turned pivot, and what they're beginning to do here, and there's actually a tool being sold that I saw out at White Mountain Knives that fits this, although you can certainly use a Torx T8. Let's close it up a second. And it is a smooth operator. Not quite loose drop shutty, but I think I'm going to leave it where it is. Perfectly centered blade. Titanium handle. Let's talk about that a little bit. Titanium backspacer. Titanium clip. Beautifully, I think I would call it bead blasted. The liners, the whole frame is titanium. No magnetic signature there. When you get up to the lock bar, we can call it a liner lock bar, there's a hardened steel insert. And look what they did to the bolster to give you access. Isn't that interesting? No other way you could take those screws out to remove that, well, without perhaps taking the knife apart, taking the pivot out, taking the bolster out, so on and so forth. I'm not sure of the construction because I'm not one to break down all the knives I get as soon as I get them. It is a thumb stud opener, and look at the detail and the beauty of those thumb studs. Now, I have many flipper knives with a flipper tab, and quite a few thumb stud knives. This one opens just like an auto. Here's the thing, something to consider. You take the knife out of your pocket. I usually, when I reach in to get the knife, it's probably I got my thumb about halfway down. To flip a knife, you then have to make a further adjustment, choke down enough to get your index finger over the flipper tab, right? When you take the knife out, here's your thumb. How far is that thumb, right, from the thumb stud? It's already right there. You just need to go forward and the knife is open. So to me, opening the knife in a hurry for whatever reason, that thumb stud is going to be closer to the digit that's going to open it. Now granted, everybody's got different levels of speed and dexterity. There's some people that can twirl the knives between their fingers and do coin tricks and flop it over. And if you ever saw Bastian Cove's Bastinelli Instagram page, he does all kinds of tricks with the knives. and for the most part without getting cut, as far as I can tell. My hands at this age aren't quite so dexterous. I used to do lots of tricks with the belly song and whatnot, but less now. At any rate, I feel the thumb stud is something we shouldn't forget as a very viable opening method. As soon as, I mean, here's a knife, right? Yeah, I mean, once you're fully on the knife, it's probably as easy to put the index finger there as it is to put the thumb there. But just something to think about, right? I may not be right, may not be wrong. It's what suits you. Let's get into the knife a little bit more instead of the operation. Deep carry, not a deep carry clip, right? But beautifully machined, attached from the outside. And I think what we'll do at this point is take a few measurements. I'm going to start, by the way, isn't that a beautiful blade ergonomics? Look at the belly on that blade and what I'd call kind of a Bowie clip, really. I mean, you could call it a trailing point, but isn't a Bowie a trailing point? I mean, I'd sort of call it a Bowie. I'm about to measure it, but I just wanted to point out they stonewash the flats and the spine, but they do satin finish on the sides. It's a Sandvik steel 14C28N, which coming from TwoSun is often noted for microscopic little surface scratches for one reason or another. This seems to have very few, if any, of them, but they are beginning to stonewash their blades in Sandvik. That covers it all up, and you know, you're not going to see many scratches probably for the lifetime of the blade unless you're putting it to some really hard use. I got to back out again. Overall length, we're going to call it 8 1/8. All right, call it 8.1, thereabouts, 8.15. Blade length, almost exactly 3.5 inches. Sorry, I'm out of frame. 3.5 inches. Cutting edge, well, I'm going to call it a 3.6. Quickly get to the weight. And we've got a weight pretty solid of 4.40 ounces. Not heavy, not real light. It's a solid feeling knife. It's just beautiful to behold. The action, smooth. Again, you've got really nice locking bar to get your thumb on there. There's a little bit of cutout here where the bar is a little higher. I find no problem disengaging. Seems to have just the right amount of strength. And I'm not sure if I probably can fail it because it's a thumb stud. Yeah. I mean, you're almost always going to be able to fail a thumb stud because you can sort of just nudge it, right? But not much more strength than that, and just flies right out. 3 screws holding the main scales in place, and I believe the pivot pin is what's holding the bolster, carbon fiber bolster on there. I put a little bit of oil on this. They come through kind of dry looking, the brown micarta, so no matter who you're getting them from. So it looks a lot nicer now. All you need to do is take a little of your pivot oil, pivot lube, whatnot, or a little vegetable oil, rub it in there, and of course use over time, it will darken anyway. I think we got the main specs to vary the comparison today. I have the Nock knives DT03, which I recently had out for a pocket check. Very close to the same, a little bit longer overall. Pivot to pivot, same blade length. Handle to handle, maybe a skosh longer, but what's interesting is the cutting edge on this knife is a full 4 inches because it's canted back like a chef's knife. So you got a full 4-inch blade on this knife. It's really neat the way it's set up. Let's put it up against the Griptilian because it's nearby. And the Griptilian's about the same overall length. And the blade very much the same. And we can't leave out trusty old Rat 1, which is going to be a bigger knife. A little bit longer blade, definitely longer handle. I mean, there's plenty of handle on the Rat 1. That's the thing about it. For a working knife, makes it nice. Got plenty to hang on to. Let's take a final cruise around. Beautiful file work, jimping, whatever you'd like to call it, on the back spacer, pommel spacer. Titanium frame with scales over it, which is kind of neat and unique to a degree. Exquisite workmanship. Designed by Mazwan, just incredible. Again, I'm tempted to do a Mazwan Mokhtar TwoSun review one of these days soon. Excellent, very grippy jimping on the back of the blade with a nice pocket for your thumb. I mean, you could put your thumb all the way out extended if you had to. Certainly you got plenty of flat there. One thing I didn't check is there weight relieving? No. None. And what have we got for markings? Only the blade steel. I am told that with a lot of Mazwan's designs and some other TwoSun designs, they're putting the maker's mark on the inside and the TwoSun name on the inside. So it's really cool that you've got what could appear to be a custom knife here with the absence of branding. So that is the Mazwan Mokhtar designed TwoSun TS301. Hope you enjoyed this review. Don't forget to give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Plenty of new content coming out. Catch you soon. This Old Sword, signing out.